Hi, welcome back. It's still we're still in 2020. This year still sucks, but we're still asking ourselves, what are we doing? All right, so welcome back. Yeah, we're not in November. I really can't believe it's November already. I also really can't believe that we're still not really swimming the way we want to be. But um, I'm also reasonably lucky that the elite of our country are in the pool in some capacity, and I do realize that makes us very, very lucky. And for that, I am eternally grateful. And the goal remains the same. So, while we're on the subject, um, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. It really does help. Really does make this much easier. Don't forget to hit the little bell button to notify you when I post. Is it over there? When I don't know, when I post the videos, and share, like and share this video. It, like I say, it really, really does help. Um, I also just want to say we launched the Patreon page about 10 days ago, a week ago maybe. Um, and I want to say a big, massive thank you to the Patreons who signed up so far. You'll see your names scrolling at the end if I can figure out how to do that. I want to say massive thank you. It really does help in these very challenging days. And if you want to sign up and become a part of our Patreon thing, then I'll put the link to the Patreon down below. And I also have a WordPress blog. Um, and I probably post there a little bit more than I do here. But I'll put the link to that down there as well. Okay. So we're kind of on, well, we're sort of in the middle of week number 12 of our season. It's been a very weird season, sort of up and down. We managed to get most of our club over at the age of 12, I guess, in the water from the start of September, and we were in for maybe 7 weeks. And then 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, we were put back out of the pool again. No club swimming, because club swimming is not as safe as public swimming. So public swimming can continue, but club swimming, absolutely not. With the exception of the elite. And the elite are those athletes that are identified by Swim Ireland and Swim Ulster and are executive as being such. Now, in Larne, I recognise the fact that I'm pretty lucky we have 4 athletes that fall into that category, and those guys have been able to swim every day. Really couldn't be more thankful to Swim Ulster and the guys down in Bangor, Aurora, for facilitating that, because it keeps us in the water and keeps our Olympic dreams on track. And yeah, so what I thought I'd do today is sort of a little update on where we are and what we're doing, what we're trying to do, and how we're doing it. So see how that goes. I think I've shown you this all before. This is the individual planner for the week. So week 12 beginning Wednesday the 28th of October, and that's the plan for the athlete. As you see, we have anaerobic capacity, anaerobic power, some sprint stuff scattered through the week. Our max heart rate test set on Saturday. And our efficiency would have been in here as well. And then 3 S&C sessions. We ditched an S&C on Friday, so there's 2 this week. But that's what we use to plan the week. And I estimate in this, it's an estimation of rate of perceived exertion. So if we look at Wednesday, in total, there's a double session on Wednesday. So in total, there would be 164 minutes of aerobic capacity at a rate of perceived exertion of around 4. And then that's a sprint 10 minutes at a perceived rate of exertion of around 8. I estimate that the whole way through the week to give me an estimated weekly loading of, in this case, 5,298. Okay, so that's the weekly load. That's what we try to do for that. Now, what I do then is the athletes. This is a dashboard that I use for all the athletes, but in here you can see we're on week 12, and this is today. So we've got over 2,000 lines of data when these guys actually submit their data for today. And then I pull it together per athlete. So this is, let me see, this is for Danielle. And we put in her calculations, her reported rates of perceived exertions, whether it's in the pool or it's S&C, a long 4, and work out some cool stuff as we go across here. It's just lots of calculations that really gives me critical training loads and acute training loads. Some monotony stuff is quite handy. The strain is also quite useful. We work it out on a rolling average and exponentially weighted. We also get trim scores for sessions and record time spent in each of the heart rate zones. Yeah, for every session that gets done. I've added at the end here some medical stuff, but that's blank because I've just added it. I thought that given the current global situation, it might be handy to know if and when that impacts on us. So that's in. And what I do with that then is I kind of pull it together into, oh, sorry, there's something else. I nearly forgot. All right, so at the start, they also report their wellness, so sleep, how they feel, how they eat, their nutrition, how sore they are, fatigue, stress, and their overall general mood. And that gets pulled together as well. And that comes into their swimmer profiles here. So hope you can see that past my head. All right, so this is Danielle's profile for today. Her sleep scores, 7-day average, which is self-explanatory. That's the average over the last 7 days. So it's a scale of 1 to 10. Average over 30 days, and then the average since we started recording. So since we started recording, that's an average of 2.5 years worth of information. And then the bottom, the Z score is a thing that's built into Excel. It's a standardization that's built into Excel. It takes account of the previous data and it standardizes it. And then it's a deviation, plus or minus. And what I've used in here is a standard deviation of 2 points. So plus 2 points is very green, minus 2 points is red. And this little color chart changes on a scale from green to red. As you can see, it's mostly yellow, which means it's kind of in the middle. Today, we've had a couple of days off because of COVID stuff. So today's Z score is today. And you see it's all green. So Danielle is good to go, good to swim. All right, if those start to go a little bit red, then we got to think about it a little bit. But as things stand today, we look at this in the morning, make a judgment call on how we're going to work. And today, everything's green. We're good to go. And I put all this into a little report. This goes to a report for Swim Ireland. And as you can see, this is week 12. So that's this week. Last week, a few other weeks. At the bottom, it relates back to the previous 4 weeks, which is nice. You know, it's a nice one-page printout thing. Breakdown of how we've swum, how many meters we've swum, how hard those meters have been, it's time spent in the gym. So this week is a little bit different because of that COVID stuff. I get sent this from Ireland, so that's not too bad. But the interesting thing is this is what I get, what I look at every day, and it's our athlete dashboard. Over here, it's just information. This is just volume. It's just meters per week, and we sort of average around high 30s, 39 to 45-ish, in there somewhere. The load and monotony. The loading is the white bars, and as you can see, it's pretty consistent. It's usually up around it's just a number, 5,008 to 6,002. It's just a number. It's just arbitrary, and it's just trying to see fluctuations in that number. So the monotony score is again a relationship between the load and the strain. So it's how often we stress the same way, same time, over and over and over again. And if it becomes too often, then it goes a little bit red, and it tells me that there's an increased risk of injury, and we just have to keep an eye, be aware of what's going on. These little colored bars at the side are heart rate zones, and as you can see today, this week, there's been nothing in the red because the 2 sessions that we missed were due to be anaerobic power, anaerobic capacity, and they would have put that red bar in, but there's been none this week. Hopefully we'll adjust that tomorrow, and we'll get some high-end stuff done. The TRIM scores are training inputs, training impulses, and it's a relationship between time spent in training and rate of perceived exertion. The one on the left, as you look at it, is the overall TRIM score for the session, for the day, and the one on the right is the overall TRIM score per minute. All right, so the overall TRIM score doesn't really adjust very much. It's quite interesting because the way we train. We go some hard stuff, but it's always balanced out with some easier stuff, and it's always around 104, 105 minutes. So it's always kind of in the middle here. The TRIM score per minute changes, and we want to be aware that if it comes round more into the red, then again there's a risk of just pushing just a little bit too hard, and we just have to be aware. The bottom in the middle is our planning, and that's just a direct lift from the planning sheet. The blue bar is the planned week this week. As you can see, consistency is key. That's my personal opinion. Consistency is key. The bottom over here, bottom left, is our wellness charts. And this again is just a direct lift from the table I showed you earlier. It's just a nice little graph. I like tables and graphs. So if it's in the green, we're good to go. I'm not too worried about the one on the left. If it drifts down into the yellow, it's not too bad. The one on the right is today's score. The one on the left is our relationship score, really. The one on the right is today's score. And if it drifts down towards the red, then we maybe consider just paddling today. But as you can see, you're both in the green and we're fine. And this last little box over here is the one that I find the most interesting at the moment. So this is training effects. And what we find is when we record the sessions, we're using a polar OH1 monitor on the side of our head. We're able to record heart rates the whole way through the sessions, and we take the average heart rate for the session, the maximum heart rate for the session, and the duration of the session. And we're able to I googled find a formula that allows us to use Danielle's max heart rate, the heart rate within the sessions, and the time of the sessions to come up with an approximation of the training effect, the aerobic training effect of that session. And then we have a little dial that tells us it's either no effect, minimal effect, maintaining, improving, highly improving, or overreaching. And it just comes up in a nice little dial here. As you can see, the last 2 sessions that he has done, maintaining and an improving session, improving aerobic capacities. What's quite interesting is I find that whenever we do our anaerobic capacity work, all of our sessions end up having an aerobic impact on their fitness. It doesn't matter what's anaerobic power, anaerobic capacity, because we train for 2 hours. So there's always going to be some sort of an aerobic training effect. I find, anyway. I'm not a sports scientist, so this is just what I've observed. So even when we go really hard, what we'll find is that the aerobic training effect will become a maintaining training effect. Whereas today it was quite easy, low intensity, and the training effect is an improving training effect for the aerobic capacity. Now, I am aware that this is a lot of word salad. And I apologize for that, but I'm trying to do something a little bit different with our training aerobic capacity. I posted a thing about it on the YouTube. Sorry, not on YouTube, on the WordPress blog post, around keeping the heart rate at 180 minus the range, so that they are absolutely definitely working aerobically and not pushing into the anaerobic areas. And we've tried to implement that this year, and to be honest, some of them find it hard to swim that slow, to keep that heart rate low enough. But the theory behind it resonates with me, that if they're working aerobically, then we're going to be becoming fitter and we're going to get better. And then on the back of that, we can add the other stuff. So with the access to the monitors, and we have a screen that they're able to look at, they can see their heart rates the whole way through the session, and we're able to tell them it's color coded. So we got to tell them it's got to stay in the blue, or it's got to stay in the green, and you got to maintain it down there. And once a week, we go a little harder on our aerobic stuff, and the heart rate goes up into the orange and red zones and into anaerobic threshold and stuff like that. But the vast majority of our work we're doing at an aerobic level of heart rate 180 minus the range. It seems to be working. Obviously, we'll only know if it's actually working when we race, I guess. But who knows when that'll be. Actually, we're supposed to be having a racing opportunity this weekend, so that'll be fun if it happens. So this is our dashboard that we use to plan our season. Big shout out to DSM Strength on YouTube, who did a really great tutorial that helped me design this thing, and then I added a little bit of flavor myself to it. So this is what we've got. We're on week 12, which puts us sort of here. Wednesday will be the 4th of November, so we're in there. Right bang in the middle of our third mesocycle. We're trying to think more about our competition phase at the minute, and the goal was originally to come in for Scottish short course, but that's looking less and less likely, so we're going to push that back by 1 week to Irish short course, which at the moment we think is still happening. Okay, so this week in here we were due to have our efficiency test on Wednesday, max heart rate test on Saturday. Last week reasonably intense. This week volume stays around the same. The intensity levels coming down a little bit just by nature of the sort of work we're doing. Some anaerobic capacity, some speed, and a little bit of anaerobic power. That's the plan this week. It's been a little bit disrupted because of COVID stuff, and we missed a couple of sessions, but nothing to derail us too much. Yeah. Oh, I don't know if you can see her or not. Ebony, my dog, is back home, and she's very nosy. So if you see her wandering about back here, ignore her. I try to. The last little bit at the bottom is acute and critical training loads. And this is just 3 representations of the same thing. Okay. I like things to be double checked and to make sure we get things right. All right. So we have the rolling average of the acute and critical ratio of work. And we have the exponentially weighted mean average of the acute and critical ratio of work. Okay, so those 2 things down here, what I try to do is keep them in that little green bar, little green zone. And then the last thing on here is the ratio between acute and critical workloads. And we want to keep that, in theory, between 0.8 and 1.3. But it's different for everybody. So, but that's the sort of zone we're sort of thinking about. All right. So the very last thing we have is this little graph. I've tried to play around with it a few different ways to see what way I like this way. It's personal preference. It's just a graph. But the orange line is the acute training load. So that's fatigue. It's the 7-day representation. So it's their acute training load fatigue. All right, the blue line is a critical training load. Fitness is the way I think about it. So as you can see, the fitness line goes up gradually, steadily. The acute training load, the fatigue line jags depending on what we've done. And the bars are freshness. That's the way I think about it. So at the moment, they're not very fresh. All right, the bars are negative, so they're not very fresh. When we come to race and taper or into a target meet, hopefully the fitness lines will be considerably higher. We'll come back off on the fatigue, and the little bars will go positive, and we'll be ready to race. And all I try to do is maintain a range in here of between -20 and -60. That's sort of, again, I Googled, I think it sort of works. So I've played around with it a little bit, and that's sort of the zone that it works in. So that's sort of what we've been doing. And it kind of works for me. I guess it's not for everybody. I like to know more or less what the effects of what we're doing is having, the effect that I think it should be having. So if I'm working them aerobically, are they getting an aerobic effect from it? If I'm trying to rest them, so when we go into the adaptation week, has the rest I've given them had an impact on their fatigue? Has it rested them a little bit? Have their numbers gone a little bit more positive? And if not, why not? And then I go back and I look at what we've done, and I look at previous weeks and see what the differences are and what has worked before and what works now. And we try to come up with the very best combination of all the information that we've got to try and produce a training plan that we're happy with, that we can see through to the end. At the end of the season, we assess it. We look back on the graphs, and we see that's where we swam fast. That's what it looked like. And moving forwards, we can bring that information into the next cycle. And most of the work with those sheets, apart from the wellness stuff, most of the work is done almost retrospectively. So looking back once they've raced and going, right, okay, how did they swim? That's where it looked like. That's what the ratios looked like. What did it look like the time before? And finding that balance. And I've been doing that for getting on the 2.5, 3 years, I think. And every year I try to add a little bit. And that's kind of what we've done. So anyway, that's another episode from the broom cupboard. If you enjoy what we're doing here and you wanna find out some more stuff, then hit me a subscribe and a like. Drop me a line. I'll try and answer any questions that I can. I don't pretend to be a sports scientist. I'm just a coach of a small club and trying to figure stuff out, really. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, the share button, and if you would like to, become a patron, then the lovely people whose names are going to scroll, if I can figure out how to get them to scroll, then I put a link in the description down below, and a link to DBS Strength as well, whose Excel charts I kind of stole and tweaked for my season plan. So thank you very much, and see you later.